I had promised everyone a tutorial, so I'm going to walk you through step by step how I did this. It's pretty simple. Forgive the messiness. It's just part of my way. I do strive to get better, however. Synthetic build. I don't know if everybody could see that. I just caught the camera as it fell off the sewing machine here. I'm going to see if I can fix this real fast, guys. I appreciate your patience. It's the CampChair Underquilt Do-It-Yourself synthetic build. Pretty simple, guys. In case you hadn't seen it in very good light, this is how she looks in the cup. As you can see, it's not restricted. Put my hand underneath there, and you kind of see it right there. See? It's not really restricted. It does sit right on it. So my measurements, when I tell you this, were right on, almost too right on. In fact, I would tell you just to boost everything probably by a half an inch, maybe. First thing you want to do, you want to measure your chair. I think I was showing you this in another piece, but I may just kind of do it this way real quickly one more time. If I was to do, you can see this, I'm holding the very top of it right here. I'm going to run my finger down to the cup. I'm going to pin it in place. I'm going to come take my other hand here. I'll run it up. I come up with about 29.5 inches, 29 inches. Do the same thing from my left to right. This is a little different since it bottoms out the way that it's shaped. So there's actually doing this twice. Run it over to the far right here. Hold down. Pull up. Come up with 26 inches. So anyway, very important that we start with that. We are making an underquilt for our camp chair out of some Climate Shield. Forgive me here, but I believe this is a big old sheet of 10-ounce Climate Shield. So if you guys want, sit back, enjoy. It's from Sportsman's Warehouse. Rep one of our local brands here. Anyhow, I measured the inner dimensions. 20 by 23 was this by this. And then the outer dimensions, the bucket or the shape, and then that way. So after I've measured everything, as I said, it was 29.5 top to bottom and 26 inches right to left. I used the actual measurements boosted a little bit. I just rounded up on the top, 30 inches tall by 27 inches wide, thinking that I was going to need a little bit more space in that cup to play with as a just in case. That was my inner dimension. The bottom section of it, I basically just added 4 inches to, thinking that I had a 2-inch piece of insulation that I was covering. So I had to come up 2 inches on one side and 2 inches on the other. Gave me 4 inches, and so I figured the same thing. I then took and pinned that piece of cut insulation to the gray piece that I had there with the good side facing out. And then I took the two pieces that was the inner shell and the insulation together and pinned them to the outer section. And I centered it kind of like you would a bullseye, the outer section, inner section. And what I ended up doing was I put that outer section over the top of the inner section with the crappy side of it, I guess you might say, facing out or up at me. And I made sure when I stitched everything together, I actually took these two pieces and kind of flipped them up and put a little hem on it. It got very complicated when I tried to sew the sides. You actually have to start on one side and just kind of move your way all the way around. But once it was done, I then went and I cut channel pieces out of the blue material again, knowing that I wanted about 1.5 inches in between, and I was going to use a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I decided 4 inches was going to be the width, by the length of the side, so 4 by 31 and 4 by 34. I then kind of flip those with a hem around all of the insulation pieces then, and then sewed the channeling in place. Once the channeling was put in place, I went and marked the corners of these things, kind of like you would see right here. Oh, and let me back up a second. On the channeling, I actually started with the channeling like this, folded the edge over so I had a piece like this, and then I stitched this together so that it was a triangle. And then when I folded it over, it leaves a little bit of a gap, like you can see right here, for this cord lock just to sit. Neat little trick. All right, YouTube, welcome back. I've made some progress. Give you kind of a quick peek, but this is what we've got so far. The corners here are going to be stitched. I think we're just going to cut out the triangles and see what we can do with it. Anyway, probably going to need to put some elastic or something in here. Still haven't done it yet, but I think we've got enough to channel. So hang tight, I'll be back. YouTube, welcome back. I have it finally set up. This is the final version of this. What do you guys think? Look, see, huh? Got it right there for you. I don't know, what do you guys think? Obviously, from a design aspect, I have tensioners fore and aft, blue meaning top, yellow to indicate bottom, and then again on the bottoms I have yellow left, blue right. I think I have a video that this is linked to anyway. Anyway, after that point, I went and marked out the corners of the quilt that I was just showing you. And once those corners were marked out, I took the sewing machine, stuck it in zigzag mode, and I covered those markings with a very, very short stitch length and a long zigzag. Once it was stitched over the markings, I physically cut as close to the stitching as I could the material away, leaving a raw edge like that. And then after that, I stitched on all of the grosgain, going around first the cut and then adding basically a reinforcement piece on the top as a just in case. Once all of that was done, I went and threaded all of the channeling and cord locks and whatnot, tensioned it, and gave her a little test. And what I'm going to end up doing here in a second is I'm going to give you a demo as to how this actually gets put right onto the quilt. I'll be right back. See what you think. I don't know if you guys can see all of that. We got some pretty cool stitching around here. Beefed up. Not too bad. Huh? What do you guys think? Alright, you guys, welcome back. I'm going to show you this really quick, the way that this thing comes on and off. As you can see, this edge is here. We would just loosen up each one of these edges. There are enough spaces to loosen up to a particular spot with an emergency stop on each one of them. Anyway, once they're loosened up, these things easily flip off the sides of these. My chair comes apart by these things coming out of each one of the corners. Once it's out of the corners, the loops can then be flipped off. Same thing to put on. Very, very simple, very, very practical. This can also be used in camp as an extra piece of insulation for your feet. As you will hear from a lot of attestments, that tends to be one thing that gets cold on most everybody that goes out. Hope this was helpful. Leave me some comments about what you guys think.